Joining us now, member of the House Judiciary Committee and the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Democratic Congresswoman Karen Bass of California. Good to have you on this morning. What do you believe is imminent in the impeachment proceedings that actually will not end up in the White House blocking someone talking?
Well, we begin our process tomorrow. And, we're going to begin by hearing from scholars talking about what are the grounds for impeachment, what is the impeachment process. I'm particularly interested in high crimes and misdemeanors and abuse of power, exactly looking at it historically, how does that and why would that lead to impeachment?
So hearing from, several key experts, it might help back up the facts that have been put forward so far by the Democrats, facts that are being disputed. You even have President Trump on the world stage talking and mischaracterizing what the leader of Ukraine has said to him. Is it a fight for the truth?
Well, I think that the president has been consistent over these last 3 years. He has no understanding of what the truth is or no concern for what it is. But remember also now the report is going to be released tonight, too. Right. So the Judiciary Committee will have the report, will listen to experts, and then decide what to do. I think it's very important that we have a transparent process, but that we have a very thoughtful process as well. And I think that part two of that begins tomorrow morning.
Does the process include you, Democrats, having behind-the-scenes meetings with your Republican counterparts? Is there any potential that there could be a bridge between Democrats and Republicans and at least calling out the president on certain facts? Or are they just holding strong in their corner?
Well, so far they're holding strong in their corner, and as you know, they've really not debated the facts. They debate the process. They've actually sounded particularly juvenile because they've protested that we weren't having open hearings, there were no transcripts, that we hadn't had a floor vote. We've done all of that, and they're still just arguing about the process. You know that they went ahead and released their own report refuting what the process was. Mm-hmm. They had a press conference about that yesterday. So we'll see exactly what the committee puts forward, what they vote on, and we'll take all of that information under consideration.
Yeah, Republicans leaning into the conspiracy theory refuted in public testimony that it was in fact Ukraine that meddled in the 2016 election. So Congresswoman, for people watching this process at home, it sounds like in the Intel Committee you had all the witnesses come forward who could provide evidence, fact witnesses. They didn't want to weigh in on whether or not the offenses were impeachable. They said, that's not my job. I'm here to tell you what I saw and what I heard. It sounds like as the process moves to your committee, to Judiciary, you will in fact have constitutional scholars who can answer the question of whether or not all that evidence we've seen now adds up to something impeachable. Is that a fair assessment of where you all see your job?
I think that's exactly right. I think that is an assessment, and I think that, we're going to be very interested in that. You remember the Judiciary Committee had been looking at the Mueller report, had been looking at obstruction of justice, and now, after the whistleblower, it sent it off in a slightly different direction. And to me, what's most important is that what the president did with Ukraine has him interfering in the next election. The Mueller report talked about what happened in the past, and I think that it is absolutely critical, and to me, that's the urgency with why we cannot wait until the next election. If you have the president attempting to intervene in the next election, we need to be very clear about that, and we need to stop him in his tracks. I think it's very clear that he was going to continue forward. He made the call he had the call with the president of Ukraine just a day or so after Mueller testified before the Judiciary Committee, which means he essentially felt, well, hey, I'm off scot-free. Let me see how I can interfere in the next election. And that, to me, is particularly egregious. The other thing that concerns me is during this whole process, when he came unhinged around the Intelligence Committee investigation, then you had him make the deal with Erdogan that led to hundreds of people being killed in Syria. So I'm concerned that when he is put in a corner, how irrational, how erratic can he be? In what danger danger will he put our country? He's over there at the NATO conference right now. You know he's going to have a fit tomorrow at the hearing. So what kind of irrational, crazy statement is he going to make tomorrow? What kind of new policy is he going to propose on the fly? All of this, to me, creates an incredible sense of urgency for why we need to put a halt to this behavior right now. Now, whether that leads to impeachment, what articles we introduce and all of that, that remains to be seen.
Steve.
Congresswoman, it's Steve Ratner. You made the point that the stuff around the Mueller report really relates to what happened in the last election, whereas what's happening with Ukraine relates to what's happening in this election. I don't want to.
Yes.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but does that mean that you think the Mueller stuff should not be brought into this impeachment proceeding?
No, it doesn't at all. I think we have to determine what articles there will be introduced, whether or not we introduce articles around obstruction of justice that relates to the Mueller report. We'll see. But you know, he's continued to obstruct Congress by not allowing information to be received by the committees, not allowing people to come and testify. So his obstruction continues, whether you're talking about obstruction of justice or obstructing Congress.
All right, member of the Judiciary Committee, Congresswoman Karen Bass, thank you very much for being on this morning.